Hi, I'm Michael Wolch, host of Morning Light and the wide world of classical music.
Michael, happy 5th anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you haven't been here the full 5 years, but pretty close to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to tell me what it was like when you first started here at Classic 107.
Well, I started about 2 months after we went live on air, and I started as the replacement for Eric, doing the Morning Light show. So it was quite an honor to be following in his footsteps, and exciting to be sort of almost at the beginning here of Classic 107.
So what was your background before coming here?
Well, last 13 years and more, a little bit more, I was the music manager at McNally Robinson Booksellers. And while I was there, I also did a little stint at the Winnipeg Free Press, writing their jazz columns. I also did a show on breakfast television, a little music show. And also I was, for a time, working for the Izzy Asper Jazz Station, doing an overnight show as well. So
you've got quite a bit of experience in the music industry.
Yeah, music has been my background. I'm not a musician myself. I've just been involved in the music industry for probably about 20, 25 years now. And I always tell people when they say, well, what instrument do you play? And I say, I don't play an instrument, but people tell me I play a really good CD and all types of music. And so I tell people that I play a really good CD.
I know you're a huge music lover.
Mm-hmm.
So what kinds of music would we find in your personal home library?
Well, I've got classical. I've got jazz. My wife is from South America, from Colombia, so we listen to lots of world music, not just from South America, but from all different parts of the world. I love folk. I love the blues as well. I got a really big dose of the blues running through my veins all the time as well. And so it really varies depending on my mood. But I listen to pretty much all genres of music. To me, it doesn't matter what genre it's from. If it hits me in the heart, that's the most important thing. I don't listen to music from my head. I listen to it from my heart. So if it does affect my emotions, to me it's a good piece of music, whether it's country, whether it's classical, whether it's jazz or folk. That's the most important thing for me.
Now, is that how you program? I mean, we all know you as the host of the morning show, but you also have the Saturday afternoon show, The Wide World of Classical Music, where pretty much you're given free rein to program that show as you like. And so what goes into that? What do you think about when you're programming that show?
Well, I think bottom line is I think of the listeners, right? I mean, it's not just about me. The show is about the listeners and what kind of music I think that they will enjoy. Because as I've been doing it for 5 years, plus beyond the 5 years, I was also, selling music to people at McNally Robinson Booksellers, and it always was about them finding music I think that they would enjoy, getting to know them a little bit more as the years go on. And so I've, again, been doing this for just about 5 years for the wide world of classical music as well, and got a sense of what the listeners have enjoyed through emails and through calls and stuff like that. So I program it for them. And I try to give them music I think they'll enjoy, whether it's orchestral music, whether it's vocal music, whether it's music that comes from the Ukraine or Iran or, all different genres of classical music. And I, as you know, I like to stretch the boundaries a little bit. And some people call jazz America's classical music. So I try to incorporate a little bit of jazz as well and help give Roxanne little promos on her show for Jazz on the Rocks as well. So,
and I think that's actually a really important point, because I know that one of the things that you feel really strongly about is the fact that classical music isn't just one thing, and what classical music is to Europeans and North Americans is not necessarily what classical music is in South Asia or in other parts of the world. And you really tap into that. That's something that's really important to you.
Yeah, I came across a book which is called The Other Classical Musics. It's an incredible book. I recommend reading it for anybody who loves classical music, because what we know here in North America and Europe as classical music is Bach and Beethoven and Mozart and Tchaikovsky, and that is one genre of classical music. But as you say, if you go to places like Southeast Asia, if you go to Turkey, if you go to Iran, if you go to all different parts of the world, they have their own traditions, India, of classical musics, which are authentic classical music. And again, it's not just what we know as classical music. And I think it's important to just explore those territories, to give due and to recognize that there is a whole wide world of classical music outside of what we know in the concert halls that we typically hear. And, again, I will acknowledge that, Tchaikovsky and Mozart and Beethoven, those are those guys. When we think of classical music, they're the ones that have kind of kept it going. But I like to dig into the corners a bit more and to reveal other music as well.
And I think that's why so many people love your show.
Thank you.
So let's go to the morning show. Mm-hmm. What is that like? Can you explain to us what a typical morning is for you, from the time you get up and what time and what happens?
Well, I don't give myself a lot of time in the morning because when I first started on the show and on the station, I would get up really early. I thought, well, I do what I would normally do: get up, have coffee, have breakfast. But then I realized that it was way too early. It was you're talking like 3 a.m, right? Which just didn't make any sense. So I decided that, I'd get up a little bit later. So I get up, jump in the shower. I'm out the door in 10, 15 minutes. And I get here. And here's where my morning really starts. I get here and I catch up on the daily news and see what's happening in the world, check out if anything specific about traffic, make my morning coffee, and then I get going. I sort of get settled in, prepare my day. I have it all laid out in front of me. And then I sort of think about things that I had planned to talk about beforehand and things that have happened overnight that need to be mentioned as well. So that's sort of the typical morning with me. I'm here usually just before 5 a.m, getting all ready. And then by 6 o'clock, I'm ready to go, ready to talk about the music and things happening in and around Winnipeg, concerts, and things like that, traffic, weather.
So I guess you would say the morning show is more information driven. I mean, it's always about the music, but there's something special about that morning drive-in where you're giving people that information they need to get their day started.
Yeah, I like to balance it a bit. It's not a talk show. It's not a talk radio show. But I like to try to keep people updated on things they need to know before they head out the door in the morning. If there's a snowstorm, there's a major traffic issue on one of the roads that they'll have to be heading down, find a way around it. And then, of course, the music. I think the music is as important as well. What do people want to hear when they're just waking up, when they're on the road on their way to work? And so we try to keep that in mind as well.
What do you hope to see in this station for the next 5 years?
Well, I would love to keep expanding our listenership. I really think that that's important. I think that the kind of music we play has an appeal for classical music lovers, for those hardcore classical music lovers, and what I say is beyond that as well. Try to expand our listenership to more and more people. Try to get involved with all the arts communities. We already are involved in so many of the different arts and cultural institutions here in Winnipeg. And so I would like to see that grow as well, and just, spread the love of classical music.
Is there anything that has surprised you about the last 5 years? Something unexpected about this job or what the station has managed to do?
Well, I think sometimes I'm surprised by the type of people that listen to our music.
I agree.
I remember one day towards the beginning of when the station had just started, say within the first year or so, and we give away a lot of tickets, which is another great aspect of our show. People love that, of my show and of the station. And one of the guys that won tickets, I don't remember his full name, but his name was Axe, A-X. And I thought, when I hear the name Axe, I think of somebody
There's
who's more
a story there.
Yeah, somebody who might listen to Metallica or one of these like heavy metal bands. And when he came in, he had long hair and he looked kind of like a biker. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool, you think of your typical classical music listener, and not to stereotype, it's probably somebody over 55 and, somebody with gray hair or, goes to the classical music scene and drinks a little bit of nice wine. But it's a real
the
wide
tweed jacket.
Yeah, tweed jacket. Yeah, goes home and sits on smoking a pipe or something like that. But it's a real, not just all walks of life, but all ages as well. We have a lot of young listeners who love music, and we found that out through our Classic Kid of the Month, that we do that every month. A lot of young listeners who that's all they want to hear on the way to school in the morning when they drive. And then, of course, we have our our listeners who've been with classical music and Classic 107 since day one, who are in their 80s and 90s, and they follow us wherever they go if they can, if they're traveling, and they miss us when they go away and they can't tune us in because they don't have a computer. They miss us, and when they come back, they're always happy to be reunited with us on Classic 107.
It's a great job that we have.
Absolutely. It's such a great, great place to be.
Thank you, Michael, and to many, many more years.
Thank you.